Welcome to Thoroughbred Network, and I'm your host, Hayley. In this episode, we feature the Godolphin Lifetime Care Programme. Godolphin is a global thoroughbred breeding operation and racing team founded by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Godolphin spans over 4 continents and has operations in Dubai, Europe, Australia, Japan, and America. Since inception, rehoming has always been a part of Godolphin. All the racehorses receive the highest standard of care throughout every stage of their lives. Whether they are top-performing best-bred horses, parenting the next generation, or retirees pursuing second careers, they are all assured quality of care. We recorded this episode in December at Kelvinside Stud, which is the base for rehoming in Australia. I was joined by Taylor Gilmore, who is the Community and Industry Programme Officer, as well as Olivia Hill, who was the spelling manager and intimately involved in the Godolphin Lifetime Care Programme. Throughout our discussion, it was apparent the passion and dedication both girls have for the thoroughbred. I hope you enjoy finding out more about Godolphin and the positive impact that it has on our industry. This podcast, we've been so privileged to come on site here at Godolphin Kelvinside up in the Hunter Valley, which is predominantly has stallions, we've got spelling, and also the home of the Lifetime Care. So I'm so excited to be able to be joined by Taylor Gilmore and Olivia Hill, who are both the main clogs within the Lifetime Care here in Australia. And I'm so excited to get involved and see and know a bit more about this and know how people can get involved. So Taylor, we'll start with you. What is your main role here at Godolphin?
So I'm in a bit of a projects role, so I coordinate and manage the work placement program, the Godolphin Lifetime Care program, and also Godolphin Flying Start whilst they're here in Australia.
What would your role include for the Lifetime Care? Like, what would be your main sort of, how would you operate that?
The main part would be around finding suitable homes for our retired racehorses and going through the applications and just picking out that long-term forever home for our horses.
Olivia, you primarily work in the spelling here. So talk us through what the role would be, the spelling, and how that fits in with the Lifetime Care.
So I manage the spelling and the rehabilitation of all the racehorses when they're having a break from racing or when they first retire. So with the Godolphin Lifetime Care, all of the horses will retire from racing here. They'll have a couple of months out at least and find their suitability for their future careers and where we'll try and place them in a life after racing.
Super. So Godolphin is, it's a worldwide racing entity. It's a worldwide breeding entity. So we have a lot of horses come through here, a lot of very successful horses. We'd say that Godolphin has access to some of the best stallions and mares. So we produced predominantly champions. But they don't always either race on until 8, 9, or even older. Sometimes we retire them younger, and sometimes they're just not going to be a suitable racehorse. So we have to look at other avenues, and I think what we've seen with Godolphin Lifetime Care is they've fully invested on looking after the quality of life for their horses that they breed. So Taylor, when was the Godolphin Lifetime Care, how did that come about? When was this started?
Yeah, so rehoming has always been a part of our racing and breeding operations since inception. The overarching brand of Godolphin Lifetime Care was implemented in 2016, which represents Godolphin's goal of creating awareness, passion and care for the thoroughbred. It was from this shared vision that each region we operate in work towards a similar rehoming goal, and that's to ensure a quality home for life. It's the way in which each region achieves this goal may differ slightly depending on the facilities and industry programs available there. The UK, for example, they have retraining facilities over there, so they might retrain their horses to a certain level of equestrian education before they rehome their horses, whereas in Australia we tend to rehome following their spell out of the paddock, and that seems to be more because of the demand for our horses. We get a lot of inquiries for specific horses, so whilst they're still racing, so most or some of the time that they retire from racing with a home available for them, we just have to determine if that's suitable for them at that point in time.
So realistically, the Lifetime Care, it's global, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's not just here in Australia. We've got it in the UK and where else did Godolphin have this?
Yeah, in each of our regions. So in America, the UK, Japan and Australia, yeah.
So really, like all over the globe, this lifetime care, the public or equestrian enthusiasts have the chance, whether it's here or Europe, to be involved and to be a part of Godolphin. I think that's amazing, considering, Godolphin has a one owner, but actually we open up to a broader spectrum, which is fantastic. So Olivia, you're more hands-on in the barn, would you say? And you'd probably get to know the horses on a really personal level.
Yeah. So we get the benefit of, we spell all the horses here after their first initial education, and then they'll come here throughout the first couple of years of their life before they're moved on to different areas around the country, like Melbourne. We've got a spelling farm down there, where they'll spell when they're racing down there sometimes. But we get to grow with them as they go through racing, and then it's really nice because we have a good knowledge of them when they retire, so we are able to, like, their behaviors and what we think they might be suited for, they'll go next.
Yeah, so I think it's important that we understand, like, a couple of these racehorses, that a lot of horses retire for various of different reasons, and I think that would be a catalyst for both of you trying to find the right home for them. So we'd probably see them retire due to, their longevity in racing. They've raced up until their level, and now they're ready to retire. And then we have horses who are very fit and well, but are just simply not suited to racing, or, racing isn't for them. But they're actually fantastic sport horses for other disciplines. So what sort of other disciplines would we see these horses be retrained to do?
We've got a variety of different disciplines. We've got horses that are just happy hackers, so people will just take them to be sort of their best friend. And then we've got pony club horses, and then there's also horses out there showing at the top level and even working their way up through eventing, those sorts of ranks. So they're not limited in what they can do. There's such a versatility of the thoroughbred that they can go into any area, but we just need to pick and choose the right ones to go into each area.
So that really comes down to you then, doesn't it?
Yeah, with the help of Olivia though.
So say we have a nice horse that has been retired here. They come for a spell. Olivia would, during that time, you would sort of look after them and take out note of their behaviours, and basically make sure there's a very broad spectrum of, you've got them in different environments, so we understand them. And then, so Taylor, your job would be to basically find the suitable environment for them to move into next. So if I was interested, I would come to you. Would I apply for that?
Yeah, so on our Godolphin Lifetime Care website, we do have an application form, and I always point people to the website just because it already has the form there, and it's got all the questions that I would usually ask anyway. So that ranges from their experience with horses in general, or with thoroughbreds. Have they had any experience retraining the thoroughbreds, or do they have a support network around them? And all that kind of information really helps me to determine whether this horse is suitable for them, as well as the goals that they have for the horse. We want to make sure that we're not pushing our horses past their physical limits, and we provide all of their veterinary history so that that they understand what their limits are.
Yeah. So if I was to come to you, because these horses have been with you since birth, basically. You have everything from day one.
Yeah.
You have we could tell them what they did on day 52.
Yeah.
They ate grass.
Yes, exactly.
But so you're able to provide that to your clients, which I think is, it's hard. Like, I know as myself as an equestrian, even if I was to go out there and look for my own horse, I have to rely on the information that the buyer that is offering me. But I think for Godolphin, you have it all in black and white from day one, which is so important. So they would come. So what about, the facilities that we have here? I take it these horses would be vet checked all the time. You'd have all your professionals being able to assess that. So that, for you, would actually make your job much easier?
Yes, yeah. So prior to them even becoming available for rehoming, Olivia goes home around with our vet and just assesses them one last time before they become available. And if they did retire from racing for an injury of whatever sort, and they had any concerns about that injury, then we might do x-rays or scans to make sure that they are able to be rehomed and suitable for that, and to what level of rehoming they're suitable for.
So if I was to apply online and you deemed me a successful applicant, what would happen next?
Yeah, so I'd get in contact with you and arrange a time for you to come and meet the horse, and you'd come down and meet the horse and ask whatever questions that you'd have about them. I'd obviously ask more questions around your intentions with the horse, with our main aim of the program being a forever home in the first instance. We do place priority in making sure that that's where they go. We try to stay away from rehoming facilities, where people retrain to a certain level and then sell on. It's not that we don't think that's suitable for thoroughbreds. It's this that we find the more transfer of ownerships, the less we're able to stay in contact, and we place a lot of priority in maintaining contact with the current owners of our retired racehorses.
Super. So, Olivia, you would be, when you're having a look at these horses, there is a range for them to do, isn't there? Like some of them, you would obviously deem this horse is very fit and it's active, but there's also a number of them that you would say, look, this horse simply needs a slower tempo of life. So would you even have unridden horses that you would say, yes, this horse would be a fantastic companion for someone?
Yeah, so we when they retire, we give them at least 2 months off, depending on their injury. We may give them longer. For an example, if we had a horse that had a significant injury that finished his racing career, we would give them, say, 6 months off, and at that point, when we re-x-rayed them, if the vets weren't happy with how he'd recovered, we try to make sure that all the horses are able to be out in a large paddock sound with a herd of horses before we'd even think about retiring or rehoming them. We do have quite a few that we've sent out to be nanny geldings and companion horses, and if we do have any concerns, we use quite a lot of companion horses here, so we would just keep them here. Anywhere where we're sending them to, we want to make sure that they're 100% ready to go and suitable for that new career.
I've seen a couple of your horses that feature on, we had a fantastic program called the Jump Off, so there is plenty of athletes coming through here. How would you obviously ride them here on the farm? What would be the process? Yeah,
so we ride, luckily with the application process online, a lot of the horses are spoken for whilst they're still in racing, so Taylor will get applicants for them. Some of the ones that have had to have a little bit longer off or have had more serious injuries, we try to get on them, make sure that they are completely sound and we're happy for them to go to their new career. We do... With them, we'll ride them in the round pens, just make sure, depending on how much time they've had off, and then we just try to hack them around and give them a quieter pace and just try and show them everything that they could maybe come across in their new life because those horses with the more serious injuries that can't be out eventing, you need to make sure that they're not going to go sore with limited light work.
Yep.
So we just want to make sure that they're... We'll give them a month or so of hacking and a little bit of schooling, but that's just in rare cases when we're not 100% certain on what they're able to be used for.
So here at Kelvinside, it's such a vast farm. I think it's such a lovely introduction for horses who've been racing and they're now ready to let down. So you would have... in my head, I've got it that you're spending your afternoons riding around the farm, which I'm sure that's not quite how it is, but...
Well, at the moment, that's what it has been lately. We're in our slower point. At the moment, all the horses for the Autumn Carnival are going into racing. A lot of the mares and fillies have retired, so they've gone to stud. So this is a beautiful time of the year. We do get a few geldings that have retired through winter or the spring carnival, so we've given them a couple of months off, and we'll get on and see what we think that they might be suitable for. We have been, we also utilize some of them for our own benefit, as a lead pony.
Yep.
In the stables in Sydney or Melbourne. So we've been doing a little bit of work with one of them at the moment. He's had about a year and a half off, and we've started doing a little bit of re-education with him to see, taking him down to the track, doing silly things like galloping horses past him. He probably thinks it's a complete circus, but and for him, he was retired as a late 2-year-old, so he's only young, but we gave him the time off to recover and we re-x-rayed him, we rechecked him, and then we'll just try and see if he's got another suitable career with us.
Fantastic. So we not only do we have the horses that we have available, but we've seen horses like Hartnell go on and have a fantastic show career. So you have quite a few flagship horses really that go around and promote the lifetime care. So what do their roles include?
Yeah, so I guess these horses are significant to Godolphin throughout their racing careers, and their main role as a flag bearer of the Godolphin Lifetime Care Program is to promote the program and the versatility of the thoroughbred breed more generally. So Godolphin retains ownership of these horses, and we look to place them with top equestrians that can explore to what level they can compete at, and then once they finish their second career, they come back to Godolphin to live out their days.
What a lovely life. Can
Yeah.
you imagine? Like, you know, these thoroughbreds being brought up here, like it's so picturesque, and it really is magnificent upbringing, especially being here and being living out with other horses, but having the facilities of world-class vets, you know, the world-class people that have been around the world who specifically are trained within thoroughbreds and to help identify the correct place for them to be, for them to then come back here and retire. I think, and it's a lovely place, isn't it? Because with Kelvinside we've got stallions and spellers and yearlings, so there's so much going on. It's a very active place, isn't it? Like there's a lot of the thought of Hartnell to have he's doing so well in the show ring already, but he gets to come back here and talk to the next generation about what to expect when you're a Godolphin horse. So what other flagship horses have we got other than Hartnell?
So we have Haraki. He's kind of the resident retiree here at Kelvinside. We're very spoilt. And then we have Osborne Bulls, who we're looking to rehome as a companion soon. And then we've got It's Somewhat. He's exploring the showing and soon dressage arena, hopefully. We are actually rehoming Avilius next Wednesday, so he'll go explore showing to start with to build up some strength and balance to then go show jumping. So that's a really exciting one. And more recently, we just had Best of Days, who retired. So he'll have his little time in the paddock and rest. And next year sometime we'll look to rehome him, see what disciplines we can find for him.
That's fantastic. Do you get sad when they go?
Well, I do, because you do build up a big relationship with them. Luckily, Osborne Bulls and Haraki, my favourites, have got to stay around a little bit longer than others and get a little bit more spoilt. But you have the relief of thinking they're going to the best possible homes, and a lot of the ones that we've rehomed, like I've known the people or we've met them here, so when they come and pick them up, we try to meet them, so you add them on Facebook, and they do, like, people love sharing photos of their horses.
Yeah.
I love sharing photos of my horses. I'm like, everyone, look at my horses, they're beautiful. So you get to see all these, you get videos and photos all the time. Even I know Taylor would get a lot more of the contact, seeing as she's emailing and checking up all the time, but even it's really nice seeing them, and I'm always, whenever I see a Dolly or a Godolphin brand, I'm like, Taylor, did you see this? Taylor, look, who is it? And it's a really fun game when people change their names.
Yes.
And you're like, should I email them and say, hey, who's this? But you try and work it out, and it's a guessing game. But yeah, there hasn't been a horse that you've seen out that you haven't been able to identify, especially with the Godolphin brand that's only been going since 2015, so it's a bit easier. But it is nice because you work them out and you see and go, oh, wow, like I never thought he would jump or whatever. But these people take them and they spend a couple of years on them, and they do like go be a brilliant partnership. So they go on and do wonderful things.
So I take it you would always be on hand. It would mostly come through you because you're mostly in the office in contact. But so if I was to take one of these horses home, I would always be able to come back and ask you questions or say, hey, what do you think of this? Like, could I come back and ask you for advice or some feedback?
Yeah, definitely. And we've had some questions come, usually as Taylor's the main point of contact, they'll come through her, or like we've had things like one horse, he's had a specific irritation to flies. Like there's a lot of flies around here, as you can probably see. But like some of them are normal, and this guy always spelled with a fly mask. So the new owner was like, oh, his eyes swelled up a little bit or something. And so we just like put a fly mask on him. He'll be absolutely fine. And simple things like people do no question's a dumb question, and it's nice that they come back and they ask and they think, oh, what's this issue? And we can give them that like on the ground feedback as well. And obviously you get reports and stuff from the racing stables and how they behave there, but it's always nice to know how they would react in the paddock and how those sorts of things.
Different environment.
Yeah.
And so Taylor, what would be the follow-up? So obviously I'm just thinking of the excitement of taking home a really nice race. But obviously they have the Godolphin brand and they're very much a part of Godolphin, you know, they still are. So what is the contact after they're rehomed?
Yeah, so I'll always get in contact within the first couple of weeks just to see how it's going and if they settled in well and that sort of thing. And then from there on, I make it a priority to get in contact at least once a year. I've built quite a relationship with a fair few of our current owners, so they're more often tagging me in Facebook posts and whatever else. So a lot of it is informal, especially if they're in contact all the time. But for those that I don't know as well, I'll make sure that at the end of each year I'm in contact with them to see how everything's going and what their achievements for the year were.
I think it's so much easier now with social media. Like one of our things in racing is traceability. You know, we want to know where, if the horses aren't suited to racing, we want to see them go somewhere else. We want to see them, maximize their capabilities they are bred to be athletes, they are bred to be sports horses. So I think with social media, obviously, it would make it so much easier than what it's been. But I think having that open relationship where you can come back and forth and still have that contact with them is magnificent. In the case, Taylor, that I took one home and my circumstances changed, would it be up to me to rehome the horse again?
Yeah, well, whenever someone takes on one of our horses, we ask, there's no adoption fee. So they are available for free, but we do ask that people sign our sale agreement, and that essentially just outlines the transfer of ownership and also the right to sell the horse on. It's not that we wouldn't allow for the horse to be sold on, it's that we want to be made aware of the intention to sell the horse, and if it wasn't working out for whatever reason, we'd invite them to bring the horse back to us. The last thing that we want to happen is for a horse to be sold on because there's pressure there, because in some instances it might be a quick sale, not the right sale.
Right,
so, yeah.
for the horse.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most important thing for us, and that's obviously what Godolphin is definitely that's what your brand says to me. So Olivia, you're awfully busy during the day. Could you explain to me roughly what would your daily routine be?
So obviously the main focus is the spellers and the rehabs of Godolphin. So it's got your usual feeding and checking, but the rehomers are kind of dotted around the farm. When they retire from racing, we don't just throw them in a paddock and take their rugs off and stop feeding them. There's a bit of the 2 months we give them is like a letdown period. So we try to slowly reduce the feed because there's no point in just dropping away with everything. And we do slowly introduce them, depending on the type of injury or the reasons of why they've retired, we'll introduce them into like a big paddock herd life. So for the first maybe month, they'll just go into a medium paddock with one or two friends, depending on like a lot of the better horses, they don't come out to us as frequently. They'll spell for shorter times, so they usually spell like in pairs or something. So it's a bit daunting for those Group 1 horses to go out with 10 other horses, 10 other geldings in a big mob. So we try to introduce them slowly and just make sure they settle well. Take their shoes off, get them used to everything, get them used to not being rugged if we can. And just because when we like to rehome them, we try to make it as easy as possible. So we can say, you can put this horse out with multiple horses. You don't have to worry about him kicking anyone or biting anyone or anything. And then you start to really see those different characteristics come out. Like one may be more dominant or one is a little scared and hiding in the corner. He's so tough in the paddock by himself. And then it also shows you what sort of home, like some of them we'll recommend to Taylor, like this horse has to go where there's multiple horses around him. Like if he is the second horse and his friend goes out for a ride, he's not going to handle it by himself. So we try to just provide them with that sort of information as well, so that whoever takes them doesn't expect them to go to a dairy farm with single wire fences by themselves. But so we try to give them that.
So if I like thinking about the role that you both have, but probably predominantly you, Olivia, would you have ever thought, I mean, I actually can't think of anywhere else that you could work in racing or breeding and then get the opportunity to get on these horses, help retrain them and rehome them. Would you have ever known that this was an opportunity to do in this industry?
I think it was briefly touched on where I worked in New Zealand, but it was more of like a back of the mind thing, where here the focus is really important on getting these horses a good home. Like everyone kind of thinks, oh yeah, we'll rehome one, and it's a second thought. So they are trying to get a home, but where the main focus for Godolphin Lifetime Care is the home. It's not moving the horse on, it's making sure the horse is going to a really good place where it's going to be valued, and it's not the main priority of to get the horse off the property. We'll happily keep them until the right person comes. Like and that's the focus. You want to really suit the horse to, like Taylor said, that forever home if possible. So we're not just trying to move them on once they've finished racing. You're saying, well, we'll kind of hang around for the right person that'll really suit this horse.
How rewarding is that for you? Because I think, horses in general, they just happen to be rewarding. They just do things and you feel happy, don't you? But it's tough, because the horses, you can't always, we try and do the best for them, but sometimes they get injured or sometimes life doesn't go to plan, and it can be stressful. But I feel this part of your role would really be quite rewarding.
It is. It's really nice, and you think, oh, I'm going to be so sad when they go, but like you touched on before with the Facebook, you always keep in contact. Like, obviously I'd love to keep them all, but that's not possible. But yeah, so it's just really nice to see, because it's lovely having them out in the paddock and you're patting them, but seeing them go out and going to Pony Club or just going for a walk down to the river, you see how much happy the horse is and how much joy it's bringing to the families. Like, that makes it so much better. And when people come to pick them up, it's like a new present, a new gift. Like, they're like, this is the best thing ever. And you're like, oh, we don't have that. Like, we love them so much, but you just see how much it means to those people. And it's really nice. Yeah.
It's actually funny. Kura Skate left maybe 6 months ago, and she was quite small, and it was a future pony, and he wouldn't, not that he wouldn't go on the float, but he was a bit concerned about it because it was different sort of size. He's used to being on a truck, and the little girl, she would have been about this big, and she's like, come on, and grabbed him by the head collar, got a bucket of feed, and he followed her up onto the float. So it's so cute when you get that kind of connection so quickly. Yeah.
And that's the same with you. Predominantly you're coordinating the Flying Start, which is another magnificent program within Godolphin, where you take young individuals who are looking for a very serious career. They're giving a wonderful opportunity of traveling the world for 2 years and working with the best of the best. Yeah. Which in my head would be, it's a very serious role. It's quite stressful. You're trying to coordinate 20 people and all the people that go with them. So it must be quite a nice break for you sometimes to focus in on this lifetime care, where it's more one-on-one contact with the new owners, I suppose.
Yeah. And like you said, it's a very rewarding program to see how they've progressed with their new owners. And yeah, it's lovely to hear the feedback, whether it's just a little win, like they stood tied up to the float without getting stressed at their next competition. That's fantastic. I guess those small wins add up to a really big success in the end.
I think as well, they have the Godolphin brand on them, so when you get to see them out, it's such a good representation of this farm. Yeah,
and we're not just limited to the Godolphin brand. We recognise the Woodland and Darley's brand as well.
Yep.
And we see it as a commitment to the lifetime care that we're responsible for those horses, and I guess it also serves as a symbol as the quality of education that our horses receive when they're in training too.
I think you both have the most fascinating roles within the industry. I don't think a lot of people even know it's a part. If I thought for a second that I could have worked in racing, as well as retrain them or be a part of a rehoming rehab scenario, I've bitten your hand off for it. Like I just think like how you know, and Godolphin is such a big owner, and this is so important that people understand that this isn't where we just breed horses to race. Like we do the whole kit and caboodle as well as looking and promoting within. Because Taylor, you haven't always had this role as such. What other roles have you held within Godolphin?
Well, when I first came, I worked in public affairs and then moved to HR and Work Health and Safety Administration. And then this role came up in 2019. And I definitely think it's the role I'll stick with. But yeah, there is so many opportunities in this industry. It's crazy. Yeah.
So what is your lifestyle like here? Obviously, we're in the Hunter Valley, so it is predominantly country. But what is your lifestyle like here with working with Godolphin? Would you be Monday to Friday?
Yeah, generally. I also do the horses in training sales, so that can be a bit of weekend work with Olivia, going to the sales and whatnot. And then Sundays for the odd podcast, but generally it's 9 to 5, and not always in the office. I mean, I went out and watched Accolade do his new
to the track with us.
do his new role as a track pony. But yeah, it's very diverse, and I really do love it.
Olivia, like for you, I feel like being on with these horses all the time, and then you see them as race horses spelling, and then we see them as sort of going on to the new homes. Are you Monday to Friday? What is your lifestyle like here?
Yeah, so we're Monday to Friday. We've just moved on to a every third weekend roster, which is delightful for this industry. A little bit more quality of life. But yeah, so we're Monday to Friday. We do have quite nice hours for racing, 7 till 4. Obviously, if we have anything else, we'll go over or have your night checks. I luckily live right next to the barn, so that's a delight.
Did you go to the races much?
Yes, I loved going to the races. COVID's obviously put a damper on that. I'll go to the occasional Scona Musclebook races, but I really do love Godolphin, so I would go to Sydney and love to go support the ones. I am guilty of following my favourites, so wherever they're racing, I'll be there. And I do really enjoy the racing for the racing. Yeah. It's beautiful to watch.
because you're mostly with them on the ground and you get to do that at first initial. Do you get first dibs on them?
Well, I'm not going to say I get first dibs, but working in the company, we do get to know them. So I definitely have put my hand up for a few of them. I was lucky enough to get a cute little chestnut Drockid when he retired at the end of 2018. I've had him forever. So at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, who I actually got to compete him on the Jump Off season 2. He was a delightful little ball of fun, but I also followed a horse Deprive through his entire career. He's a grumpy old thing in the paddock. Nobody knew why I wanted him, but I begged and pleaded, and I went online and filled out the application form, and I was lucky enough in April to get him in my paddock. It's great bragging rights. He nearly cracked the $1 million in prize money, but yeah, no, he's just a nice little hack that I have.
So what is his life? So he wouldn't be out competing? What would you do with him?
No. He is just a really big pet, like kind of like your dog. He's great. I hack him down to the river. He just does light exercise. He's sound in a large yard, large paddock, walk, trot, canter, but he's raced up. Like he raced forever, and he was a good old campaigning horse. He wasn't exceptionally old, but in racing he did race for a few years, and yeah, he loves it. He's the funniest, weirdest little horse. He loves to hack by himself. He just is the different from every other thoroughbred you'd ever think. He just loves to cruise around the farm, splash in the river, go for a little trot and canter here and there. But and where the chestnut Drockid, he's your little show jumper, little firecracker. But no, I've definitely gone both ends of the spectrum there with the competition horse and the fun.
Is that your after a big day on the farm working with horses all day? Mm-hmm. Do you then go home and ride more horses to chill.
Well, I think, so that's why I got Deprive. I just wanted someone who I could just hack around on, just have some fun, go to the river, and just have a great time. So I was always riding them. You kind of, when you're riding track and all that, you don't want to go and ride them, but now being on the ground with them all day, I'm like, now I want to get on one of these and ride them. And we do ride a couple of the rehomers, and then that's just given me more motivation to go and ride my
Get
own.
up and riding.
But it is a long day, so I do just like to cruise around the farm.
Well, how lucky are those boys? Whereabouts do they live on the farm?
They just live in front of the guest house, actually, in a beautiful new grass paddock. But no, so they rotate. We've got a couple of staff paddocks. All the staff members are allowed one horse on the horse staff, so it's really nice because we live on farm. We get to have our horses there, and there's a nice little crew. We do have about 4 or 5 horses that the staff own that live on the farm, so we're right beside the river. We've got a few paddocks we can ride in, laneways. It's completely separate to the rest of the farm, so we just go ride around there whenever we like.
My goodness. I'm going to put my notice in to my husband, and I will be joining you shortly. But I have 3, so could I come and
You
bring
can rotate
one?
them.
Give Taylor one.
Yeah.
Like,
Share them around. Yes.
amazing. So Taylor, what would be my best if I was watching this podcast and thinking, I have the space for a Godolphin. My husband hears me say that out loud. He'd be really mad because I do not have any more space for Thoroughbred. But if I was to have more space for that, and I was actively looking for a Godolphin horse, even if I had a Godolphin horse that was racing now, would I be able to contact you to say, Taylor, I really like this horse?
100%. And we definitely, even if we don't have anything available at that point in time, I have a database of people that have inquired, and as soon as a horse comes up that suits that description, then I'll get in contact with them. Etymology is actually a good example of that. They contacted me in 2017, and he didn't retire until end of 2019, and then he spelled into 2020, and they came and looked at him and took him home within the week. So definitely pays off to get in early, and obviously if it's the right fit, then it'll be a success.
What horses do we currently have available?
Ooh, currently. Well, we do have, off the top of my head, but we do have a section on the website that has horses available section. I've got 3 up there at the moment, but there's a few more that have just retired from racing. So we'll give them a little while to wind down and be a horse for a bit before popping them up. But it definitely doesn't hurt to get in contact with us and let us know what you're looking for. Like I said, just a description of their ideal horse, and I can make some suggestions from there.
So if anyone was listening and they wanted to make an application, what would be included in their application?
So just, I guess, what it is they love about horses. I mean, their experience with horses, any horses of particular note that they're interested in, or colour or breeding or height. We often get them under 16 hands. We don't often get too many that are that short at Godolphin, but we have plenty of bays and browns, but yeah, just as much detail as possible, and we can go from there.
If I was to be interested in a ridden horse, would I give you some footage of me riding?
Absolutely. The more information, the better. We find that your experience with horses is important, but if you have the support networks around you, like a good coach or your parents' ride that can help you through the retraining process, that's definitely a positive for us. But we're definitely open to all rehomings that are available, and would love to hear from everyone.
What's your best contact?
Best contact?
Through the website,
Yeah.
probably.
Through the website.
There is a contact us section there with all my details.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we would go to the Godolphin Lifetime Care.
GodolphinLifetimeCare.com, yeah.
Super,
Yeah.
fantastic. Girls, thank you so much. I'm so jealous of your roles. I think for anyone watching, even if it would be looking for a horse to take home or even a career inspiration, that there is positions here within the industry that you can work up to, where you can not only be with the horses every day and help rehome them, but you can also coordinate them and find those people for them. I think what you do for the racing industry is magnificent, and I hope that anyone listening actually gets to hear how important the quality of life is for the Godolphin horses, as we've talked about, not all of them go on to be equestrian horses. You've used them for track horses, or I know that you mentioned to me sometimes horses that are just travel companions for horses, because they do travel. We have 6 farms in Australia for Godolphin, so we're going in between states. But then to actually then have the public to have an opportunity to be a part of horse, I mean, how exciting to say that you have a Villiers, you know, and even those, but even the horses that aren't those famous horses, but are just really lovely sports horses, are you know, are athletes that they can go on and take on to be a part of that second part of their career. I think that's magnificent. So I want to thank you both for joining us, because I know, side note, this is a Sunday where you both should be relaxing. But we've been so privileged to come here to Kelvinside to have a look around what's available, and how this beautiful farm is set out, and where these horses both, not only where they come from, where they have their education part of their life, but where they can also come and retire and be a part of it. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
I loved it. Thank you. Good job, girls.